I have a little friend, a close friend, Slash, who's my boyfriend's son, who's really, really cute.
For over a decade, Cher stayed silent about one of the most quietly powerful relationships in her life, her connection with the late music legend Leon Russell. Now, at 78, she's finally breaking that silence, and what she reveals is raw, emotional, and deeply human. Join us as we dive into Cher's long-awaited confession, the story behind her bond with Leon Russell, and why she chose now to speak up. Cher's confession. Cher chose to keep her relationship with Leon under wraps, not out of indifference, but rather out of respect. She has now revealed that for more than a decade, she refrained from talking about him not because he was insignificant, but because he was profoundly significant. The emotional landscape was simply too intricate. Their bond was not founded on showmanship. It was deeply personal, not in the romantic or manner that tabloids might imply, but in the genuine honesty they shared. They recognized each other's struggles, both carrying the emotional weight that comes from fame, personal grief, and the isolation that often accompanies being artists in a field that frequently values performance over true authenticity. Leon Russell was celebrated as a musical genius, exceptional on the piano, insightful in his lyrics, and evocative in his arrangements. However, to Cher, he represented more than just a fellow artist or peer. He was a translator of feelings, a sort of spiritual counterpart whose music articulated emotions she often found difficult to convey. They collaborated behind the scenes, instances that were seldom highlighted, yet profoundly significant. During these times, their bond deepened. The music they created transcended mere sound. It served as a form of personal therapy. Cher remembers how his ballads resided within her, becoming integral to her emotional lexicon. His melodies and words resonated long after the studio lights faded. Cher's tone becomes gentle as she reflects on Leon's artistic genius. She mentioned that he wasn't merely a musician, Leon was a conduit. He sensed the music before anyone else could. She reminisces about their time in the studio and during intimate jam sessions, illustrating how Leon, quote-unquote, could make a piano weep and transform silence into something divine. To Cher, he was not just a partner in music, he was a powerful presence. He possessed the unique talent to connect with the essence of a song, even before it was composed. Cher further highlights how Leon's distinctive fusion of gospel, blues, and rock not only influenced her perception of music, but also defined an entire generation. She confesses that even now, as she prepares for rehearsals or takes time to reflect, it's often Leon's tunes and phrasing that resonate in her thoughts. Russell's songs, especially those imbued with spiritual longing and Southern resilience, continue to bring her to tears. They transcended mere performances. They were heartfelt prayers. She continues to hear his voice, not only in his songs, but also in the serene moments when she contemplates her life. What truly surprised listeners was the emotional depth Cher displayed while discussing their personal relationship. It wasn't merely music that connected them, it was a shared vulnerability. She recounts tales of late-night phone calls, open discussions about fame and isolation, and the comfort they provided each other during challenging times in their careers. She states that what they had was rare, and they didn't need to explain things to each other. While many have speculated about a romantic connection, Cher neither confirms nor denies such claims. Instead, she emphasizes a profound soul-level companionship. She says he understood the kind of pain she carried, even when she couldn't place it to words. Cher portrays Leon as a person who gave selflessly, listened more than he spoke, and grasped the essence of being an outsider in an industry that prizes perfection. When Leon Russell passed away in 2016, Cher was heartbroken, but she spoke very little about it publicly. She now reveals that this silence was part of the emotional barrier she had constructed over the years. She disclosed that as performers, they are trained to display strength, not sorrow, and further explained that people desire the glamour, not the breakdown. However, behind closed doors, she was deeply grieving. Russell's death unleashed a torrent of emotions she hadn't anticipated. Not only was she mourning a friend and creative partner, but she also felt the burden of everything left unspoken. Words she never had the chance to express, songs they never completed, and apologies that would remain unvoiced. She likens this time to walking through fog, battling depression while the world expected her to appear adorned with eyeliner, sequins, and a smile. In reality, she was overwhelmed by her loss. And since their relationship was mostly private, her grief felt isolating. There were no public tributes, no headlines, just a pain she bore in solitude. Cher explains that her choice to open up was a gradual process, and it wasn't a dramatic moment. It felt more like the pain faded into a memory. As she turned 78, she found herself contemplating her legacy, not only her own, but also Leon's. She was determined that he would not be forgotten. She wanted people to remember the man behind the music, the shy, twisted, and incredibly talented individual she had known. Moreover, she started to understand that sharing their story was not merely a tribute, it was a form of healing. Discussing Leon allowed her to view the silence not as a scar, but as a part of their shared journey. She states that it's not about regret, it's about being grateful for what they had, even if it couldn't endure. In the latter part of her reflections, Cher delivers a heartfelt message, part homage, part lesson for life. To her fellow artists, she advises to embrace your uniqueness. Leon never altered himself to conform to the situation. Instead, he shaped the situation to suit him. That's true strength. To her fans, she provides a thoughtful reminder that not every love story is about romance. Some are crafted through music, through suffering, and in the subtle gaps between our words and our emotions. If so, what was their relationship like? How did Cher and Leon live through music and love? Cher, a renowned pop icon and television figure, and Leon, a musical prodigy known for his piano skills behind the scenes, shared a bond that went beyond what most fans understood. Although the specifics of their initial encounter are still unclear, even to certain music historians, the rich tapestry of their intertwined lives provides a compelling backdrop for grasping how these two giants of artistry developed a deep emotional connection over the years. Sherilyn Sarkisian, recognized to be simply as Cher, burst onto the Los Angeles music scene in the early 60s. As one half of the duo Sonny and Cher, her ascent to stardom was fueled by chart toppers like I Got You Babe. Yet her beginnings were deeply rooted in the recording studios of Los Angeles. Before she graced magazine covers, Cher worked as a session singer for the iconic producer Phil Spector, contributing her voice to classics such as Be My Baby by the Ronettes. Simultaneously, a young artist from Oklahoma named Claude Russell Bridges, later known as Leon Russell, was already making waves in the studio scene. Leon was part of the legendary Wrecking Crew, a loose assembly of top-tier LA session musicians who supported a range of artists from Frank Sinatra to the Beach Boys. His piano contributions were featured in countless hit records, although few outside the music industry recognized his name at that time. It was in these smoky, bustling studios of 1960s Los Angeles that their paths likely crossed. Not in a grandiose introduction, but rather in fleeting moments amidst crowded vocal booths, during late-night recording sessions, and in the pauses between takes. The studio environment was both close-knit and dynamic. Everyone was familiar with one another. A formal introduction was unnecessary. If you had the talent to play, sing, or contribute in any way, you were welcomed into the fold. Phil Spector's studios were a hub for creative talent. Cher, who was just starting her career in her teens, was celebrated for her distinctive contralto voice and often called in for last-minute harmonies. Leon Russell began to emerge from behind the scenes, writing songs, producing albums, and ultimately embarking on a solo career. By the late 1960s and early 70s, he was touring with Joe Cocker, producing records for Shelter Records, which he co-founded, and creating solo albums that defied genre boundaries. Cher was also undergoing transformation. Her solo projects started to move away from her initial pop persona, and her acting career opened up a new realm of fame. Yet, she remained committed to music, and her choice of collaborators showcased her profound admiration for artists like Leon, who transcended traditional categories. During this transformative period, when both were asserting themselves as artists rather than mere performers, they likely began to see in each other a kindred spirit, someone who had earned their place in the background and was now ready to express their own truth. In the entertainment world, fame frequently brings with it a sense of isolation. Cher and Leon Russell were acutely aware of this reality. Although their public images were starkly different, Cher, radiant and daring, Leon, withdrawn and mysterious, they shared a common desire to shield their true selves from a society that devours its stars whole. Cher has openly discussed the loneliness that often accompanies fame, particularly for women. For many years, her artistic abilities and dedication were overlooked, and she struggled to gain the respect she deserved. In a similar vein, Leon, despite his exceptional talent, was frequently labeled a musician's musician admired by fellow artists like Bob Dylan and Elton John, yet largely ignored by the mainstream audience. This mutual experience of being misjudged likely formed the emotional foundation of their bond. As Cher recently expressed in a heartfelt reflection, their relationship was not romantic, but it was profoundly personal. They recognized each other in ways that others could not. They comprehended the sacrifices of being an artist and the sorrow of bearing unvoiced pain. What could possibly cause a rift in their relationship? Why Cher and Leon drifted apart? The reality is that there was no public discord or significant distance created between them. Their parting seems to stem from the natural course of life. Careers change. Priorities evolve. Individuals transition into new phases, often unintentionally drifting away from those who once held significant places in their lives. It's probable that their final exchanges were warm yet incomplete, that neither recognized how quickly time was slipping away. They likely grew apart in terms of day-to-day contact, not out of conflict, but because life carried them in different directions. However, the diminishing of contact does not equate to a reduction in emotion. In many respects, the affection persisted in silence. Cher's later reflections reveal that Leon never faded from her memory. He remained a significant figure in her thoughts, his music, his essence, the shared experiences, all quietly replaying in her consciousness. As the years rolled on, the world continued to evolve. Cher's career underwent yet another transformation, shifting from pop music to acting, from comeback albums to Vegas shows. When Leon Russell passed away, a profound sense of loss swept through the music community, especially Cher's. Yet, Cher chose to remain silent. What many were unaware of at the time was that her silence was a manifestation of her grief. As she reveals eventually that there was an unresolved matter between them, not a quarrel nor a disagreement, but a shared past that she hadn't fully come to terms with. That, perhaps, is the most human aspect of their relationship. However, genuine relationships, particularly those that are profound, tend to conclude quietly, marked by missed calls, delayed visits, and unspoken words. Cher and Leon's parting was not rooted in resentment. It stemmed from the delicate nature of connection when life unfolds at the pace theirs did. Ultimately, what endures is not the tale of a dramatic breakup or a lost romance, but rather the life of two individuals who crossed paths, drifted apart, and never truly severed their emotional ties. Some relationships don't conclude with a loud crash or a soft sigh. They simply pause in time. What did Leon's music career look like? Let's find out. Leon's music career. Born Claude Russell Bridges in Lawton, Oklahoma, in 1942, Leon Russell showcased his extraordinary piano talent from a young age. He started formal lessons at the age of 4 and was already performing in Tulsa nightclubs during his teenage years. Despite having slight cerebral palsy that affected his right hand, Leon cultivated a unique left-hand technique, an adaptation that would come to define his powerful style. By the age of 17, using the stage name Leon Russell, which he derived from a fake ID, he had already toured with Jerry Lee Lewis, immersing himself in the raw gospel rock fusion that would influence his future sound. In the 1960s, Leon emerged as one of the top session musicians in Los Angeles, becoming a part of the renowned Wrecking Crew. He recorded with legends such as Phil Spector, the Beach Boys, Jan and Dean, Bob Dylan, Frank Sinatra, and Barbra Streisand. Renowned for his musical acumen, he had the ability to either anchor a song or elevate it. Herb Alpert remarked that the rhythm section would start coming to him when he played. His work on Phil Spector's Wall of Sound and his performance in the TMI show in 1964 highlighted both his versatility and growing acclaim. Russell's initial solo endeavors emerged in the mid-60s. His first single, Everybody's Talking About the Young, released in 1965, came after he joined the groundbreaking duo Asylum Choir, alongside Mark Beno. Although the group did not achieve commercial success, it served as a vital environment for Leon's evolving style, one that was rooted in gospel-infused rock and psychedelic experimentation. His debut self-titled solo album showcased tracks like A Song for You and Delta Lady, featuring collaborations with Clapton, Dylan, Harrison, Clapton once more, Jagger, Richards, and Ringo Starr. This album represented a pivotal moment. Leon emerged as the central figure in his own universe. Songs such as Tight Rope and This Masquerade, which George Benson elevated to Grammy-winning acclaim, were featured on the 1972 album Carney, which reached number 2 on the Billboard charts. His live recordings, particularly Leon Live 1973 and Live in Japan 1975, showcased his electrifying stage presence and attracted dedicated audiences. Leon was not just a performer. He was a band leader and organizer. He served as the musical director for Joe Cocker's 1970 Mad Dogs and Englishmen tour and its subsequent album, while also leading the Shelter People on tours that often generated nearly $3 million in ticket sales. His signature top hat and beard, along with his powerful piano playing and gravelly voice, became iconic trademarks, what he described as a religious experience. Leon consistently pushed the limits of musical genres. Under his Hank Wilson persona, he ventured into country, honky-tonk, and bluegrass. His gospel-influenced album Will-O-the-Wisp produced top 40 hits such as Lady Blue. He also explored blues rock, particularly guitar blues, standards Life Journey, and Christmas hymns. Leon was not merely a musician, he was a trailblazer in both production and business. He established the Sky Hill home studio, was one of the early adopters of Chamberlin and proto-synthesizers, and imagined the concept of programmable drum machines. His iconic songs, A Song for You, This Masquerade, and Superstar, have become timeless classics, covered across various genres and eras. His Shelter Records label was instrumental in launching numerous careers, significantly altering the landscape of the music industry. Fans on Reddit continue to describe him as singular, unsung, and emphasize his minimalist brilliance. Among Leon Russell's most notable accomplishments are his deeply moving ballads. A Song for You is regarded as his ultimate masterpiece, a heartfelt creation born from emotional longing, crafted in less than 10 minutes. Leon once revealed that it was intended to connect the musical realms of Ray Charles and Frank Sinatra, highlighting the breadth of his artistic vision. Since then, the song has been interpreted by over 200 artists, including Donny Hathaway, Herbie Hancock, and Aretha Franklin, each bringing their unique take on its raw emotionality. Another of his groundbreaking works is This Masquerade. Although he first recorded it in 1917 too, George Benson's 1976 rendition would go on to win a Grammy and achieve commercial success. The song's jazz-infused rhythm and profound lyrics resonated with both soul and pop fans alike. Russell's talent for merging melancholy with elegance in his songwriting distinguished him during a time when rock music reigned supreme. From the Carney album, Tightrope presents a whimsical yet twisted metaphor, contemplating the fragile existence of a performer. The music video, released long before MTV's rise, showcased Russell's ability to intertwine visuals with narrative depth. His songs frequently mirrored his personal struggles, the dichotomy of fame versus solitude, love versus heartbreak, and faith versus hopelessness. Leon Russell was more than just a piano player. He transformed the role of the instrument in modern music. His musical foundation was steeped in gospel and blues, yet he blended it with the vibrancy of rock and the spontaneity of jazz. In contrast to the refined and polished performances of his classically trained peers, Leon's playing was raw, percussive, and profoundly human. Each chord resonated with his Oklahoma heritage, both respectful and defiant. His distinctive barrelhouse style infused his performances with a palpable urgency, as if the keys were ablaze. Elton John, who revered Russell during his formative years, acknowledged him for demonstrating how the piano could lead a rock band with as much flair as any electric guitar. Indeed, Elton famously remarked, "Without Leon, there wouldn't have been an Elton John." Leon Russell's career was adorned with legendary collaborations, many of which are often overlooked in mainstream discussions. His association with the Wrecking Crew in the 60s provided him with unparalleled versatility. He seamlessly transitioned from Phil Spector's echo-laden pop to Bob Dylan's folk rock and Frank Sinatra's lounge soul. He played a pivotal role in the Concert for Bangladesh in 1971, an initiative led by George Harrison and Ravi Shankar to raise awareness for refugees from the Bangladesh Liberation War. His medley of Jumpin' Jack Flash and Young Blood was a highlight, merging British rock with American soul into an exhilarating gospel-like climax. His dynamic stage presence, complete with wild hair and a top hat, made him a standout even among the likes of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. His partnership with Joe Cocker also gave rise to one of the most cherished live albums and tours in rock history, Mad Dogs and Englishmen. Russell took on the roles of musical director, arranger, and keyboardist, and his magnetic personality prevented the tour from collapsing under its own chaotic scale. This endeavor alone propelled the careers of numerous backup singers and musicians, cementing Russell's status as a star maker. Russell was more than just an artist. He was a behind-the-scenes visionary. In 1969, he co-founded Shelter Records with producer Denny Cordell, nurturing talents like Tom Petty, J.J. Cale, Phoebe Snow, and Freddie King. Shelter Records embodied musical integrity and innovation, principles that Leon staunchly defended, often at great personal financial risk. His Sky Hill studios in Los Angeles served as a model for artist-controlled spaces. Unlike the conventional major label systems, Sky Hill empowered artists to record on their own terms, emphasizing creativity over commercial pressures. Russell was an early adopter of new technologies: Chamberlins, ARP synthesizers, reel-to-reel sampling, and even ventured into music videos long before they became commonplace in the industry. Despite his iconic status among musicians, Russell's fame waned during the 80s and 90s. Evolving musical preferences, shifts in record labels, and personal hardships, including financial setbacks and unsuccessful marriages, led him into a phase of semi-obscurity. He continued to record and tour, primarily for a devoted cult following. Leon also encountered racial backlash due to his interracial marriage with Mary McCreary, a fellow musician. In an era marked by racial tensions, their love story challenged societal expectations. The couple worked together on a gospel-infused album titled Wedding Album in 1976, featuring soulful duets and touching lyrics, which further showcased Russell's determination to resist industry conventions and societal prejudices. By the 2000s, Leon Russell had nearly disappeared from the public eye until Elton John stepped in. Surprised that Russell was not inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Elton took it upon himself to not only publicly commend him, but also to actively rejuvenate his career. Their collaboration, The Union 2010, transcended a mere duet. It was a reclamation of Russell's legacy. Produced by T-Bone Burnett, The Union reintroduced Russell's voice and piano to both radio and live audiences. It made a strong debut at number 3 on the Billboard 200 and garnered extensive critical praise. The documentary of the same name not only captured their recording sessions, but also highlighted the emotional reconnection between the two artists, mentor and protege, brought back together. This revival continued with Life Journey 2014, a carefully curated musical autobiography that showcased American standards, blues, and gospel, with Elton John serving as executive producer. Tours resumed and sold out in various cities, demonstrating that the world had not forgotten the master of space and time. In 2011, Leon Russell was honored with induction into both the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Songwriters Hall of Fame. At the Hall of Fame ceremony, Elton John introduced him, becoming emotional as he reflected on Leon's profound impact. Elton remarked that he was his idol, and now he's his friend again. Leon continued to create music and tour until 2016, despite facing health issues. His last studio album, On a Distant Shore, was released posthumously in 2017. This album showcased rich orchestral arrangements, reflective themes, and fresh interpretations of his timeless hits like A Song for You, providing fans with a touching farewell. When Leon passed away on November 13, 2016, the music community grieved not only for a legend, but also for a mentor. Icons like Bob Dylan, Elton John, and contemporary artists such as Tori Amos and John Mayer shared heartfelt tributes. Elton tweeted that his darling Leon Russell passed away last night. He was a mentor, inspiration, and so kind to me. And he mentioned how much he loved him and always will. Leon Russell's life is filled with contradictions, celebrated by legends, yet frequently ignored by the general public. His remarkable talent to navigate through gospel, country, blues, soul, rock, and jazz, while maintaining his unique sound, was truly magical. He served as the connective tissue linking Dylan's folk, Elton's glam, Cocker's soul, and Harrison's Eastern-inspired rock. His songs are timeless classics. Superstar, co-created with Bonnie Bramlett, continues to feature in film soundtracks and is covered by artists delving into themes of heartbreak. A Song for You is a mainstay in live performances, cherished by everyone from wedding singers to Grammy tribute acts. Moreover, his label, Shelter Records, pioneered the movement for independent artist empowerment long before it became fashionable. Leon was a maverick with deep respect, a man capable of crafting sacred gospel hymns one moment and a lively barroom anthem the next. The industry never fully grasped his essence, possibly because he refused to be confined to a single genre. However, to those who truly listened, he embodied everything: a preacher, a poet, a trailblazer. Even after his passing, his impact continues to expand. Emerging artists are now sampling his work, and his name is often mentioned in podcasts, documentaries, and discussions about music history. Leon Russell was, and continues to be, a foundational figure in American music. A man with such legacy makes one wonder of his legacy was just in albums or children inclusive. Leon's children. Leon Russell was a legendary musician and a father to 6 children from 3 different relationships. His first child, Blue Bridges, also known as Baby Blue Eagle, was born in 1972 from his relationship with Carla McHenry. Blue was named after A.C. Blue Eagle, an Oklahoma Creek artist, showcasing Leon's deep appreciation for culture and creativity even in the naming of his child. Leon's first marriage to singer Mary McCreary resulted in 2 children, Teddy Jack Bridges and Tina Rose Bridges. Teddy Jack followed in his father's footsteps, becoming a musician and producer. He even collaborated with Leon later in life, highlighting their shared passion for music. Leon's second marriage, to Janet Lee Constantine, brought 3 more daughters into his life: Sugary Noel, Honey, and Coco Bridges. These daughters maintained a close relationship with him, and Sugary and Coco notably provided backing vocals for his final studio album, On a Distant Shore, which was released posthumously. Although Leon Russell often kept his personal life away from the public eye, his children, especially those who participated in music, played a significant role in his legacy. They not only carry his bloodline, but also embody his unmistakable artistic spirit. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.